Hello everybody, welcome along to the Norisring. We're all set and ready to go for our first of two races for the Porsche Carrera Cup Deutschland. And there you can see that we've got one or two greyish clouds in the sky. Now it's around about 35, 36 degrees Celsius here in southern Germany. It's absolutely roasting hot. So the possibility of rain is not something I'd even considered really throughout the course of the weekend, but we have had one or two drivers and team bosses lucking up to the skies. They're all, of course, on slick tyres, Michelin slick tyres, so this won't be an issue yet. And if it did rain in the race, then they'd have to stop the race and everybody to change tyres, but it is just a slight worry. It's very humid here, which is why we potentially might get one or two spots of rain, but it's been a very bright sunny day up until this point. We've just got these clouds coming over now, so we're all set for the first of two races. It is going to be round 7 of the championship coming up, and we've got Larry ten Voorde as the championship leader, the driver that's going to be starting this race from pole position. We had an excellent qualifying session earlier on today with 7 different drivers at one point or another getting provisional pole position. A second fastest lap time for each driver is what determines the grid for this first race, and Larry ten Voorde therefore starts this one from pole position. But the overall fastest lap time of the session went to Henrik Skoog for the Overdrive Racing by Huber squad, and he got his first pole position of the season by a whisker, by 0.08 of a second. Larry ten Voorde therefore will start tomorrow's race second on the grid. He hasn't started off the front row of the grid any of the races so far this season. And third on the grid tomorrow, Igor Velilko having his best qualifying session. There was nothing between those three drivers. There is Stefan Rakoff, who's one of the drivers contesting the AM Class Championship this year. He's behind Carlos Rivas, who's been a runner-up in the amateur class and B-Class Championships a couple of times. And Carlos Rivas, the Luxembourg driver, with a reasonable points advantage coming into this weekend, 115.5 points versus 97 at the top of the AM Class standings. Grid is being cleared then as we get prepared for the race. Half an hour of racing coming up, and Larry ten Voorde on pole position, 40 thousandths quicker than Mikael Ammermuller on second fastest lap times. Henrik Skoog will start tomorrow's race from pole. He's going to be third on the grid for this one. Julien Andlauer, real championship contender this year, the young French driver, is starting fourth. Jean-Baptiste Simonard and Igor Velilko will start 5th and 6th. There with his new livery for the season. Obviously a fan of the Nuremberg Football Club, Bundesliga club, which is the stadium literally a stone's throw from the circuit on the street track at the Norisring, based in Nuremberg. The actual media centre for the events where I'm based, where photographers and journalists from around the world are based, is within the football stadium grounds. You can stroll out the back and stand near to the pitch. So drivers getting ready for what's going to be a hot race for them, whether or not there are one or two spots of rain in the air. It's hot out there, 35, 36 degrees outside the car. Inside the cockpits, you're talking over 50 degrees, maybe even 60 degrees in the cockpits of these 911 GT3 Cup cars. So grid cleared, tens of thousands of spectators here at this circuit. Round 7 of 16 then for the Porsche Carrera Cup Deutschland. It's going to be a 31 lap race because it only takes them 51 seconds to get around the 2.3 kilometres of the Norisring, and given how close it was in qualifying, I think we can expect a very enjoyable race. Larry ten Voorde then is the points leader. The young Dutch driver has had 4 wins, a second and a fourth from the 6 races so far this year. 123 points he has amassed. You get 25 points for a race win, and he's already 45.5 points clear of Julien Andlauer, who's second in the championship on 77.5 points. Half points awarded in the race, or one of the races at Most, as it wasn't complete full race distance in that one. That's why we've got the half-point situation. And then Dylan Pereira, third in the championship, but a bit further down the grid for this one. Only 11th on the grid for this race. Further down the grid for tomorrow. He's third on 63 points, but 60 points behind the championship leader. Race wins this year have gone to Larry ten Voorde, Julian Andlauer and Mikael Ammermuller. And it's Mikael that starts on the outside of row one. The Larry ten Voorde fans there, the David Coltman fans in the crowd. And there is the driver that is going to lead them around the green flag lap. Just 22 years of age. Moved to the Huber squad, Christoph Huber's team, after 2 seasons with Project One. Embarking upon his 3rd campaign in the Porsche Carrera Cup Deutschland. And having finished 3rd in the championship last year, pushing on to get his maiden title. He's also competing in the Porsche Super Cup, the Mobil 1 Porsche Super Cup for international drivers. So he'll be at Silverstone next weekend supporting the British Grand Prix. And he's 5th in the Super Cup this year, doing an excellent job, the former rookie champion. Alongside him, though, the vastly experienced Mikael Ammermuller, who is the driver leading the Porsche Super Cup standings this year. He won the Super Cup last year and he won the Super Cup the year before. But despite that international success, the Porsche Carrera Cup Deutschland is something that's never quite come his way. Last year he had to play second fiddle to Tommy Priding and finished 3rd in the 2017 campaign. But Ammermuller, who's had a mixed start to the season, he's had that win at Most, he's had podium finishes at the Red Bull Ring and at Most as well, but he's also had a couple of retirements. Got involved in a crash with Jaap van Lagen and then subsequent retirement from one of the races at Spielberg a couple of weeks ago. He had a retirement in the first weekend of the season at Hockenheim as well. So he's trying to play catch-up here, 4th in the championship standings. And then we've really got to watch out for Henrik Skog. He might be 3rd on the grid for this one, but he was the overall quickest driver based on fastest lap times from qualifying. So watch for the Swede in the number 20 car. 2nd generation of racer. His dad, Patrick, raced Scandinavian Porsche Carrera Cup. It's his 3rd season as well, Henrik Skog, in the championship. 10th in 2017, 9th in the championship last year. Let's see how he gets on here. And then Julian Andlauer, who is battling for the championship this year, starts 4th on the grid. The French driver, 19 years of age, currently 2nd in the Super Cup as well, in his 2nd season of international Porsche racing, behind Ammermuller. They're supporting David Coltman, the German driver for Black Falcon, who lines up 10th on the grid. Next to them, the Larry ten Voorde fans will see their man for Overdrive Racing by Huber on pole position. For BWT Lechner, Walter Lechner's team, Mikael Ammermuller alongside. A huge grid of 30 cars then lined up, ready to go racing. Teams with their eyes fixed on the start procedure have done all they can for now, and the grid is formed up. We're here at the Norisring. It's round 7 of the Porsche Carrera Cup Deutschland. My name's Chris Hartley, and the green flag is waved at the back of the grid. 485 brake horsepower times 30 is unleashed as the green lights go, and we are racing with ten Voorde. Oh, making contact there with Ammermuller as he comes across to defend his position, and this might allow Henrik Skog to get in the mix here as they run down into the hairpin for the first time in the race. That contact between the top 2 has given Skog half a foot in the door here, but I think ten Voorde has fended him off. Ammermuller is going to drop to 3rd though. The rest of the field make their way through the Grundig hairpin for the first time in the race. Skog into 2nd place, Ammermuller 3rd. It's tight, 4th and 5th side by side. Julian Andlauer just about gets there ahead of Igor Vililko, and he drops to 5th place, and he's coming under attack himself now as well. Coming up then to Dutzendijk, already effectively the last corner of the lap, the 2nd of the hairpins, and then through the final kink it's flat out, and you've already done a lap around the 2.3 kilometres of the Norisring here. 31 laps of this race. It's going to be a real test for them. You get it wrong, you're in the wall. Ammermuller and Skog, nose to tail as they went over the line, but Ammermuller had got his nose back in front. He's still got his nose in front. 2nd and 3rd, watch for them into the hairpin. Skog's got the inside line. He gets underneath the rear wing of the race leader, and he gets his position back. So Ammermuller had a go. He was actually ahead over the line, but he was always on the wrong line for turn 1. So it is Larry ten Voorde and his teammate Henrik Skog 1st and 2nd for the Overdrive Racing by Huber squad. We've got a 1-2-3 in terms of fastest lap times in qualifying earlier on, and then you've got the 2 BWT Lechner Racing drivers, Mikael Ammermuller and Julian Andlauer, trying to snap at their heels. They're side by side with each other as well, with the white wing mirrors It is Mikael Ammermuller in the number 1 car, but Andlauer's getting alongside him. They're still together. The blue wing mirrors on Andlauer's car. He's got the inside line, and they are absolutely wing mirror to wing mirror here. Andlauer's going to have the better line. It's a long drag down towards the hairpin. Ammermuller's got his nose in front. 3rd place, he'll get back for now, but down the inside of him comes Andlauer. Out wide goes Ammermuller, and he's going to lose another one here if he's not careful, because he's got Jackson Evans snapping at his heels as well. The New Zealander, who's the top rookie in this race by 3 positions. Leon Kohler, another rookie, going well in 8th place as they started the lap in the 77 car, is just behind as well. Fantastic battling here at the head of the pack. Ten Voorde leads. Skoog in 2nd place. Side by side again for 3rd as they came through the shot. Who's it going to be? Side by side for 2nd now, because having defended on the way into the corner, coming out of the corner, the Lechner Racing driver goes back on the attack here. They're going to cross the line absolutely together. Andlauer is just behind. He's got Ammermuller breathing down his neck as well. 3 together for 2nd place then. I think Andlauer will have the line for the hairpin. Ammermuller will try and follow him through. Braking as late as he dares is Henrik Skoog in the orange and white car, but he has to let him through. He's going to lose another one because he's late on the throttle. And that means that Jackson Evans, the New Zealander, is going to get through as well. Not without contact though, as he gets to the braking zone, just covers off the line and goes through the first part of the S's as the new 4th place car, last year's Australian Porsche Carrera Cup champion, getting stuck in here on his first ever visit to the Norisring. No mean feat to get used to these cars and this championship and this circuit for the first time. He's doing a great job. So Evans, a feisty start to the race and not worried about swapping paintwork on his way through, defending his position. You have to be brave here. They're so evenly matched, these cars. And he can overtake around here. It's a street circuit like no other than the Norisring. So great effort for Evans. There he is in the number 93 car. And can he get another good result to add to the long list of good results he's had in Porsches over the last couple of seasons, predominantly in the Australian Championship last year. So Evans working through to 4th place. Skoog down to 5th. Going to get a replay of the start now. And that was the moment, the contact between the top 2, really coming across to defend his position was Larry Ten Voorde, and he clattered into the side of Ammermuller, and then Skoog just went past the pair of them, but he was on the outside line. He got his nose in front, he got the lead very briefly, but coming out of the corner, less grip, a wider line, and it meant down the inside of him through the apex. The pole sitter managed to get back through. Bit of a tight scramble just behind as well. And you can see offline it's still very, very dusty. Was that getting a switch on? That was getting a bit of a hit there. The number 8 Gustav Malja car, the Swede. And up in the air as well for the 23 machine of Lewis Henkerfeld. Henkerfent, sorry. So Henkerfent, 2 wheels clean off the track there after that contact. Ten Voorde leads, Andlauer is 2nd, Ammermuller in 3rd. Evans 4th, Skoog 5th, Julien Simonauer in the 3rd of the pink BWT Lechner Racing cars is in 6th place. Michael Vililko 7th, and then in 8th place Leon Kohler, 9th place Luca Rettenbacher, who was quickest in qualifying briefly earlier on today. And just moving up into 10th place is Dylan Pereira, who had some dramas though. The number 14 car of Tony Wolff has got damage. Another car involved in that has scarpered off, but with damage to the left rear corner. That one's surely headed for the pits. And the radiator's gone as well. Look, fluid pouring from it. It's exposed at the front of the car, the radiator on the Porsche 911, and I'm afraid that he is going to be out. And the other car involved in that was Nick Scholl, the youngest driver in the field, the teenage racer, just 17, having come up through international karting in the Rotax Max Challenge, raced in GT4 last year. And it was a synchronised spin. We see that on the way out of the corner. Actually, a 3rd car involved in that was the 88 machine of Rhys Barr, the Irish driver. His first ever visit to the circuit. So he was, I think, in the wrong place at the wrong time there and got caught up in it as well. But I think has been able to continue on. Rhys, who raced in the TCR Europe Championship last year and the Mini Challenge in the UK the year before that. Had a chat with him earlier on as we see Tony Wolff parked up, still fluid coming out of the radiator of the car. No way to continue for Tony. And huge frustration for the driver, 10th in the championship. Back to the pits we saw coming, Nicholas Scholl's car. And Reese had a problem with his car in practice, so he missed a lot of the practice session yesterday and was trying to get used to the circuit. So he said the first half of qualifying was really me just learning the circuit, but a big ask here, getting used to Porsches, the likes of which, in terms of the balance and performance of the car and the power of the car, he hasn't experienced before this season. And then to get used to a street circuit, it's a tough weekend for Reese, but hopefully he's been able to continue on with the car. So Larry ten Voorde opening up a 0.6 of a second advantage over Julian Andlauer. But Andlauer has been closing the gap, getting slippery and sideways there. Well, we got Jeserik off. We've got the number 6 car of Carlos Rivas, the AM-class champion, sliding. And then Jeserik spins around, but bits of bodywork flying off the car. The replay might tell us what happened. He's trying to gain a place up the inside. Two came together. Then he got hit from behind as well for good measure. So it's I think likely another car headed to the pits with a broken radiator. This time the number 8 machine of Gustav Malje. And Rivas and Jeserik coming together. Malje, look, with the front of the car smashed up. There you can see already the fluid coming from the radiator. That's going to be on the circuit. That's going to make it slippy. And he's headed for the pits as well. So Malje just couldn't avoid that. It was all happening right in front of him. A frustrating day for Gustav Malje, who started the season so well with a 5th place finish in race 1 at Hockenheim. So he shakes his head. Just hasn't got his way today in qualifying or the race. Work to be done by the Porsche racing team to get that car out and running. And I'm afraid there's Reese Barr walking there to the pit wall, so he is out. So poor Reese Barr, who needs as much time as possible in the car and around the circuit to get used to it, he's out. And through no fault of his own by the looks of it. So ten Voorde and Andlauer continue to run closer and closer together. Andlauer's been catching in the last couple of laps. Ammermuller's hanging on to the coattails of them in 3rd place. And then Jackson Evans doing a fine job in 3rd place, the New Zealander. His lap time of 52.6. He's a few tenths off the top 2, so he's just dropped back a little bit from them. Porsche Junior driver with the support of Porsche for 2 years. And prior to racing and winning the Australian Porsche Championship last year, he'd also raced the GT3 Porsche Cup for a couple of seasons, some endurance racing in Australia as well. So building up plenty of experience, the 22-year-old. And the leading rookie here in 4th place. The next best rookie is Leon Kohler in 8th position, who had a slow start to qualifying. He was way down, 2/3 of the way down the timesheets for most of qualifying. Then he put a couple of laps in late on. Good timing as the track got quicker and quicker and quicker. It was only the last remaining minute of the session that we saw the pole position time change. Igor Valilko getting his best qualifying. I spoke with him earlier on as well, and Igor was saying, you know, the tyres will last here. They were pounding around, doing a lot of laps in qualifying, and even though it's hot here, the track temperature well over 40 degrees, as Richard Wagner walks, as Matthias Jeserik walks away from a very badly damaged left rear corner. Oh, number 3 making a move there is Dylan Pereira in the new colour scheme for this weekend. All-white car at the Spielberg last weekend, but through he comes and gains a place, and that's his Berke Besler hanging on to him. The teenage racer, the Turkish driver, who's only raced a couple of seasons in cars now, but was a front runner in European karting and international karting prior to that. He's a 3rd at the moment in terms of the rookie drivers. He's 13th. Rookie Kohler in 8th place in the 77 car. 93 Evans, the leading rookie, ahead of them all in 4th position. Evans has also already this season finished on the overall podium, as into the pits comes, I'm afraid, Alex Arkinaka, another of the young drivers in this championship, the average age of which has really come down over the last few seasons. Lots of drivers in their early 20s and teenagers as well, using this as a stepping stone, a platform to project themselves into international car racing, and a really competitive field. Great to see the grid so strong as well this year. 30 cars here this weekend. But yeah, just going back to the point I was making about tyres, Valilko said, yeah, it's hot, track temperature over 40 degrees, but there's only really this section, the S-curve, where the tyres are put under any real strain. There are no real high-speed corners here. There's only 4 corners. It's all about the braking. So actually, the tyres should last no problem throughout the course of the race. You're not going to see as much tyre degradation here as you would around other circuits. The big problem, he says, are the bumps. It's a road. It's a public roads normally, so it's not a nice, smooth, prepared racetrack. This, it's just normal roads, so it's very bumpy. And under braking into turn 1 at the hairpin, the Grundig curve, that's where it gets really bumpy. We'll see in a minute the front of the cars hopping up and down as they hit the brakes. Lots of lockups into that corner in qualifying. There's a lockup from Georges Donchev in the number 7 car, battling away here with Sandro Kajbek as they switch coming out of the hairpin. The lockup for Donchev on the inside, defending his position. They can see the car up and down over the bumps. Kajbek staying on the outside line, trying to switch back. You've got Lucas Ertl just behind as well, who was involved in quite a hefty shunt at Spielberg last time out when Simonauer had a span back onto the track and was T-boned by Ertl, who couldn't avoid him. And look at this, contact between the top two, Ten Voorde and Andauer, and into the barriers as well. So not the first time there's been paint swapping going on here between a Lechner car and Ten Voorde's got damage. Look, he's pulled off the circuit, he understeers into the barriers. He's got no steering, he turned, nothing happened with the wheel, and it was all as a result of the earlier contact with Andauer and with the barrier. So the top two in the championship make contact, and Larry Ten Voorde is headed for his first retirement of the season. The first time this season he won't have finished in the points. His previous worst this year was 4th place in the last race at the Red Bull Ring. He is not going to get anything out of this one, though. And they see the front left suspension gone. There's more damage, and another spinner with the 67 car of Sebastian Daum, the Austrian driver, with bits of bodywork off his car, waiting to find a gap to get back around onto the track, which he does now. Excellent work by the marshals, waving the yellow flags to make the drivers aware that there was danger around the corner, because you can't see until you get to the apex. Dragging the car back in, no doubt. Fuming, though, is Larry Ten Voorde, the Dutch driver. And, well, all he's saving himself really is a walk, because he's not getting back in this race. Now, what started out as a fantastic day for the Overdrive Racing by Huber squad, with their 3 drivers setting the 3 fastest times, ends, at least for that driver, with bitter disappointment. He's wrecked the rim as well, dragging it back. And they shake their heads. They're going to hold the flag anyway, but I'm afraid their man is not going to get it. Happier at Lechner, I think it's fair to say. He's been told off for posing to the cameras, though. Don't do that, he says. So reprimand on the way. And Ten Voorde is, you can tell from the body language, you can tell from the way the car was driven back to the pits, and you can tell from the way he stormed onto the pit wall and kept his helmet on, fuming. Christoph Huber there, the team boss. Let's get a replay then. So Ten Voorde was leading, Andauer behind him. He went wide coming out of the corner, got on the gas. Andauer went for it. He got his nose in front. Contact between the left front and the right rear. And that was where the damage was incurred. You can see the suspension already bent. Andauer went for a fair move because out wide had gone Ten Voorde. But there was just that contact. And then when he got to the next turn, he turned right, nothing happened, and he understeered straight into the guardrail here. And then, fuming, he dragged the car, probably did more damage to it, getting it back to the pit lane. And there, after that, we had this spin for the 67 car of Sebastian Daum, all on his own. Already, actually, those bits of bodywork were down there. I thought they were off his car, but they're from several incidents that we've had. Well, I suspect more conversations will be had after that. But Larry Ten Voorde, well, they're going to have a bad race at some point. It was always unlikely to keep this fantastic run going, but what drama for it to go in that way, in that direction, and of all people, with his closest championship rival. So it's now Julien Andauer that leads the way, the 19-year-old. Michael Ammermuller second. And these two drivers are the two drivers battling, as I mentioned earlier on, for the Mobil 1 Porsche Super Cup this season. And Ammermuller leads it, but Andauer, only in his second season of international Porsche racing, is just behind him second as they head towards the British Grand Prix in a weekend's time. So there they go, over the pavements here to make the most of the exit to the corner, pulling well clear now. Jackson Evans, who's promoted up to 3rd place now. Evans, who had a 3rd place finish in only his 2nd race in the Porsche Carrera Cup Deutschland.
mixed weekend at Hockenheim, got disqualified from race 1, but went on to get a podium in race 2 that weekend. And has had some strong results since. Most was a very consistent weekend, 4th and 6th in those 2 races. You can see on the big screen Larry ten Voorde being interviewed, but I suspect very brief was that interview. He's storming off in the background. I think he might possibly, I don't know if he's going to have a word with the stewards, but more contact here. Now that was the 92 car of Luca Rattenbacher getting into the side of Leon Kohler, their teammates, and that wouldn't have gone down too well with the team boss. It's a nudge, but it could have been dangerous. That just behind them is Igor Valilko, and the 3 of them are battling over 6th place. Just behind them as well, you've got the number 9 car, the hugely experienced Jaap van Lagen, the Dutch driver who's 4th in the Porsche Super Cup this year, and more than 10 years experience for him. Valilko having a look at the inside as we cut away there. He gets between the 2 blue and black MSG HRT Motorsport cars, and I think he's going to split them. Is he? Is he? It's going to be close. He'll have to wait until he gets to the end of this straight, I think, because they're still side by side. Fastest lap of the race goes to Mikael Ammermuller, 51.969 seconds. There are the 2 leaders coming out of the hairpin. And here we see Valilko still side by side with the 92 car of Rettenbacher. And just behind the pair of them, you've got Jaap van Lagen snapping at the heels. And also the number 5 car, David Kottmann, the blue and black Porsche in the background there, run by the Black Vulcan team. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Porsches all together battling over 6th position. Fantastic racing here. We're at 1/3 race distance. The top 2 though have scarpered. They've made good their escape. It's Andlauer and Ammermuller. 5 seconds clear now. Jackson Evans in 3rd place in the 93 car. Simonau though is just half a second behind him, so there's still a big battle going on as they cross the line for the final spot on the podium, and a long way to go in this race yet. More action to come, because look at Jaap van Lagen in the background there. The orange and blue car, the Dutch driver, right onto the tail now of Rettenbacher, the 92 car. The bright yellow luminous wing mirrors getting as close as he dares to the wall on the exit to the hairpin. They thunder through. Still discussions being had here. There's Hubert on the left, the team boss. Ten Voorde, the driver, the blonde Dutch driver to the right, trying to describe and decipher exactly how that happened, what happened. Andlauer, seemingly with no real damage to his car though, continues to lead the race. Fractionally quicker on the previous lap than Ammermuller, and 2 tenths, nearly 2 tenths quicker on that lap, so the gap growing. 1.3 seconds clear now is Andlauer. Ammermuller 2nd, Evans 6 seconds back in 3rd, and only 0.4 of a second clear of Simonau in 4th place. Henrik Skog in 5th position. Very briefly led the race going into turn 1. And then it's the 2nd best AM driver, Leon Kohler, next up. Number 77 in 6th place. This big battle that we've been watching going on is another 19-year-old driver, Leon Kohler. First season in the Porsche Carrera Cup Deutschland, having raced in the Porsche GT3 Challenge in the Middle East last year. And prior to that, racing in the ADAC Formula 4 German Championship. Did some Formula 4 racing in the UAE as well, and that was his first year of car racing, 2018. Prior to that, like a lot of these young drivers coming up through the ranks in karting. So this is the battle for 3rd place. Evans versus Simonau, the French driver. And Simonau qualifying in the top 6, 5th on the grid for this race he was. So good pace. On the tail of Evans now he is. He was actually quicker in qualifying, and he was higher up the grid. Evans started this race 7th, but came through well on the first lap of the race. Simonau, only 20th in the championship, has already had 3 retirements so far this year. After the big crash in Spielberg, he was a non-starter in the 2nd race of the weekend in Austria as well, so it's been a really tough start to the season for him. His best finish so far this year is just a 10th place, which he picked up the 2nd weekend of the season at Most. So looking to really get his campaign up and running here. Jean-Baptiste Simonau. The flag you can see there being held on the exit to that corner is what is yellow and red stripes. That's slippery surface flag. So that's, I think, partly because of the debris that's down there from the various crashes. Partly it might be from fluid from radiators that are broken. But I wonder if there are maybe just 1 or 2 spots of rain in the air as well. Shows a couple of spots on the camera lens there. It's got a bit greyer above. Very hot, very humid. And if there is a bit of rain, on the slick tyres, it won't be too bad, and it'll dry quickly with the hot track temperature that we've got. So I think it's too much of a worry yet, but just something to be aware of as we see the third, fourth place cars coming through. There is the flag pointing up to the skies, and I think it is potentially a warning to the drivers that there might be some spots of rain up there, just to be aware of it. Yeah, definitely 1 or 2 on the lenses now, so it takes more than that to really worry and trouble these drivers. And there'll be plenty of heat in those tyres, of course, as well, and it might just be a passing cloud. Lap time's just gone off a little bit, I think it's fair to say, the last couple of laps, so it might be having a bit of an effect. Cars getting lighter, tyres getting more worn. Concentration has to be kept at an absolute maximum here for these drivers. In terms of the AM Class Championship, it is, as I mentioned at the start of the race, Carlos Rivas that leads in terms of the points. He's in the number 6 car, the Luxembourg driver. Stefan Rakoff, the German driver, is the number 33 car. But it's Rakoff that leads. We saw them having various incidents between them earlier on. Rakoff's into 16th place overall. Second in the AM class at the moment is the number 7 car of Georgi Donchev, the Bulgarian driver, and he is 19th, 3 places behind Rakoff in the race. And Carlos Rivas is 21st and 3rd in the category as it stands. So if it stays like this, the gap between the top 2 in the category is going to come down by 5 points, by more than 5 points, because it'll be 25 to Rakoff, and for 3rd at the moment, only 16 going the way of the points leader. So he's going to close the gap by 9. Rivas will still lead going into tomorrow by some distance, but just what he needed to close the gap this, with that car in between them. So Stefan Rakoff doing a good job currently. This battle for 6th place coming through, very close. In fact, they're catching up, the battle for 3rd. So there's Evans in 3rd, next one over the line. Simonauer in the pink Lechner car, number 27, 4th. Skoog 5th, Kohler 6th, Rettenbacher 7th, Velilko 8th, Van Lagen 9th, all catching up. We're going to have a queue of cars trying to get onto the podium here. Jackson Evans, maybe the second half of the race, or the remaining few laps of the race, is going to have his work cut out here. 4 to go in this one. And what are the lap times like? Evans and Simonauer, 52.3s, and low 52s, 52.0s for the chasing pack. They're catching up by 0.3 of a second. Walter Lechner, who's seen it all before, and a wry smile on his face. Film me if you want, I'm just going to stay calm. We're not home yet. 28 of the 31 complete. It's flown by this race. Terrific stuff on the Porsche Carrera Cup Deutschland. Andlauer 1.8 seconds clear, just did a 51.7, so pulled away from Ammermuller again, and he's looking in control here for the race victory. It'll be Julian's second win on the bounce, because he won race 2 at the Red Bull Ring. Now look in the background here, Henrik Skoog has got them queuing up behind. Kohler, number 77, and Rettenbacher are fighting each other though. And the 2 teammates, wing mirror to wing mirror. It's going to be the inside line though for Kohler. Rettenbacher will have to be careful not to give his own position up here to the car behind, to Iger Velilko. Van Lagen's waiting to pounce as well. And in the end, they all stay in the same order. But it just shows if you go for a move and it doesn't come off, you could lose your own position. You could lose 2 or 3 places, because once you're off the racing line, they'll all steal it. They'll all shut the door and you'll be hung out to dry. So great battle going on here for 6th place, almost for 5th place. It's allowed the Evans and Simonauer car to pull back away again now. They were catching up, but I think this infighting has allowed them to get away and just concentrate on their own battle for the last couple of laps of the race. And here is this battle, side by side they go. Simonauer's got alongside Jackson Evans. He's going to have the inside line for the next corner coming up, and Simonauer is about to get himself onto the podium positions. Evans out wide, tries to stay in there for the second part. A brave effort that. He got the back end tail happy. He was determined to try and get the place back through the left hand part of the S-curve up, but it wasn't quite to be. So down to 4th place, but still snapping at his heels. He's got the inside line for the hairpin. Fantastic racing, side by side for 3 corners now, and it's Jackson Evans who gets his nose back in front. Fabulous drive. Simonauer not done yet, and that fighting look allows Henrik Skoog, who was quickest in qualifying this morning, to catch them up. So they've got to be a little bit careful, but time is running out for Skoog to catch up now. 30 of the 31 laps done. So
Lap and a bit to go, lap and 3/4 to go, and defending this time down the inside is Jackson Evans. Oh, and Simonauer gets a bit slow coming out of the corner and drops back into the clutches of Skoog. I think he just got a bit of slide on there. Lost traction, and that might mean Evans has got it sorted now for 3rd place. Whisper it, because there's still time to go. Still, don't count your chickens in motorsport, but that's given him some breathing space. Cure cars forming up behind in this battle for 6th position, still raging on as well. And there's the checkered flag, and it's going to go to Julian Andlauer for the 2nd time in succession. He wins by almost 3 seconds from Mikael Ammermuller. 3rd place is going to go to Jackson Evans, and 4th place, after a brave attempt on the final lap of the race, goes to Simonauer. Skoog was just 0.3 of a second behind him over the line, though, in 5th place. And then it's Kohler 6th, Rettenbacher 7th. 8th place to Valilko, 9th place to Van Lagen, and 10th place to Kochman. Dramatic race, lots of talking points, not least the contact that happened between Andlauer, who went on to win the race, and Ten Voorde, the championship leader, who for the first time this season fails to finish a race. And that means that Julian Andlauer is going to close the gap. It'll still be because of this big lead he'd got. Larry Ten Voorde as the championship leader, but 25 points going the way of Julian Andlauer, 0 going in the direction of Larry Ten Voorde. And so from 45.5, the gap is now going to be just 20.5 points. It's more than halved the championship advantage of Ten Voorde. And tomorrow we're going to have Henrik Skoog on pole position. So Andlauer, Ammermuller and Evans, the top 3. And Evans, the winning rookie, getting his 2nd overall podium of the season, fending off Jean-Baptiste Simonauer with great gusto over that last lap and a half, 2 laps where they ran wheel to wheel through a number of corners. Simonauer threw everything at that, but it wasn't quite to be, and then he lost his traction coming out of the hairpin and actually had to defend for the remaining 20-30 seconds of the race from Skoog. Here's a replay then, side by side. Simonauer getting 3rd place, then trying to hang on around the outside for the left-hander, and almost doing it was Evans, but he just lost traction, got the car sideways, almost into the wall went Simonauer, but he got him back then, right at the end of the race, going on to the final lap. And there is one very, very happy Jackson Evans. I'm shaking, she says. I'm not surprised, that was a fabulous race, really good. All sorts of talking points, all sorts of battles, not just for the lead, but for 3rd at the end. Scrap for 6th place was mega as well, wasn't it? 6 of them all together. Jan Kohler, Luca Rettenbacher, Michael Valilko, all playing their part in that. So Julian Andlauer, Mikael Ammermuller, Jackson Evans will very shortly be making their way to the podium. Andlauer for the 3rd time this season to follow on from his win at the Red Bull Ring, the 2nd place finish he got at Most. For Mikael Ammermuller, it's starting to come together now in terms of consistency. So only the 1 win, but he's now got 4 podiums out of the last 5 races. So he's starting to get a bit of a roll together. Mikael Ammermuller, there he is, the bespectacled German driver, just being interviewed there before he heads to the podium. And for Jackson Evans, as I say, 2nd time on the podium this season. Difficult weekend for Jackson at the Red Bull Ring for various circumstances conspiring against him, but great bounce back here, his 1st time at the Norisring. So there's confirmation of the results. Julian Andlauer, Mikael Ammermuller, Jackson Evans, the top 3. Jean-Baptiste Simonauer in 4th. Henrik, that's his best result of the season as well. Henrik Skoog in 5th place. 6th place, 2nd best rookie to Kohler. Rettenbacher 7th, Valilko 8th, Van Lagen 9th, Kochman in 10th place. 11th place, Dylan Pereira, 3rd in the championship at the start of the day, but tough weekend for him so far. It's not quite gelled. Berke Besler, 3rd best rookie, coming home in 12th position. Wagner 13th, 14th place going to Fitja, 15th place then going to the number 23 car of Henke Fendt, and 16th and winning the AM class was Stefan Rakoff. So Stefan Rakoff closes the gap to Carlos Rivas at the top of the table. That's his 3rd win of the season in the category. 2nd in the AM class, going the way of number 7, Georgi Donchev, and Carlos Rivas, 3rd in the AM class, having to settle
for less points on this occasion, but plenty going on, and some contact for Rivas as well in the middle of the race, as we saw. So it could have been worse, but it could have been better for Carlos Rivas. So Luc Bechtel getting ready to MC the podium ceremony here for Porsche. Busy weekend for a lot of these drivers who, as I say, got these 2 races at the Norisring, then straight off to Silverstone for Grand Prix weekend for the Super Cup. And there was the contact with the wall for Simonauer after he went side by side with Evans. But it was square on hit, that. Could have been worse. And that was on the last lap as he just went onto the marbles. That was where Evans got away from him. And Skugluck very nearly stole 4th place away from Simonauer. He'd been gutted if he'd finished 5th. Probably gutted not to quite get onto the podium, but it was a brave effort from Jean-Baptiste Simonauer and a good drive from him. Good battling between him and Evans. So, qualifying session, a single qualifying session, fastest lap times to give us the grid for tomorrow's race. And it's going to be a slightly different look to the grid tomorrow. Henrik Skug on pole. Larry ten Voorde, who will be in full determined mood after what's happened today, will start 2nd. And a career's best in the Porsche Carrera Cup Deutschland for Igor Velilko, who'll start 3rd on the grid. Michael Ammermuller will start 4th tomorrow. Julian Andlauer, the winner today, will start 5th on the grid tomorrow, so work to do. And Jean-Baptiste Simonauer will start 6th. And Jackson Evans is on the podium. He's got to come from 9th on the grid tomorrow. A slightly worse grid for Jackson than he's had today. They're the top 3 cars in the Parc Fermé area. A 1-2 for the BWT Lechner Racing squad, and not for the first time. And the Jackson Evans car, run by the team Project One, who've had so much success. Teams titles and drivers titles over the last few years. But it's the Lechner Racing squad that are in command in terms of the points scored today, at least. Julian Andlauer, who looked pensive, I think it's fair to say, after qualifying when he was back in the paddock earlier on. But he was there when it mattered. So we'll get the top 3 drivers up onto the podium then, here at the Norisring for the first race of the weekend for the Porsche Carrera Cup Deutschland. 3rd place to Jackson Evans, there to the right of your picture. 2nd place to Michael Ammermuller. And on the top step, and about to hear the French national anthem, Julian Andlauer.
Mein lieber Julien,
if that was a tear in the eye or tiredness or what, but certainly a very happy Walter Lechner Racing squad. Time for the trophy presentation. Carsten Sons from Porsche Deutschland presents the winner's trophy, and it's the 2nd win this year for Julian Andlauer, closing the gap, more than halving the gap to the points leader with whom he had that contact. Markus Fink from Porsche Deutschland presents Michael Ammermuller with his 2nd place trophy. It's 2 2nd places on the trot now for Michael Ammermuller. He'd like to start scoring some more wins. Bobby Isaac from Porsche presents Jackson Evans with his 2nd overall podium trophy of the season already. And he's proving to be very handy at this Porsche Deutschland stuff, and really good effort considering he started 7th on the grid as well. Our winning team are BWT Lechner Racing. And they'll be delighted with that. And so they'll, I think, probably all up together now for the joint photo. Julian Andlauer says, hang on, don't get the champers open just yet. We've got to do the photos first. And then it'll be the race for the champagne. Quick, get the trophy down. Oh, I think Jackson Evans is going to lose this one. Yeah, he's going to get soaked. Absolutely soaked. Now he can't see what he's doing, so he's trying to aim, but he's got no idea where he's aiming at. He's got sticky, sweet champagne in his eyes. He won't care at all, though. Terrific drive by him. Terrific battle with Simonauer for that last few laps of the race. It's Julian Andlauer, who
despite the contact, the car survived, didn't seem to slow it down at all. And he was the one that went on to get the victory here at the Norisring by 2.7 seconds. In his mirrors for a lot of that race, though, was the Porsche Super Cup champion, Michael Ammermuller. A 1-2 for the team. They were nearly 11 seconds clear of third place in the end, partly because they were quick and consistent, partly because of all the battles that were going on behind. It's been a fantastic race weekend here so far, but there's more to come. Race 2 from the Porsche Carrera Cup Deutschland coming up tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed the coverage here from the Norisring. From me, Chris Hartley, and the team, thanks for watching.